I guess I can't get video to work.
Oh no. Okay. Well, that's okay. Great. Okay. So recording, so John can watch it later, and I guess we're ready to go. So again, I apologize again for that little late start. That was my screw up. But thanks for your patience and hanging in there, and thanks also for being willing to help make the benchmarking program really work this year. It's one of our goals to get at least these first 200 buildings up and running and get we want to get a very high compliance rate this year. So I think having some folks who are willing to support some of the businesses who maybe need a little help will be valuable. I think we'll find that it's not, once you understand how it works, it's not that bad, but it might seem a little intimidating to people at first. So I think as we walk through it, you'll see that it's not so bad. And once you understand like the terminology and have a look at the platform. At first, the Portfolio Manager, which is the EPA website that we use, sometimes Casey will show us what that looks like in a little bit, but it seems a little intimidating at first, but it really isn't so bad. And they have, there's also, in addition to what we'll talk about today, there's some YouTube videos that that the EPA put together about the program that recommend watching too. We'll provide those links, and when you have a minute, you can watch those, and those will be informative as well. And so I think there's some, not sure everybody knows everybody here, so maybe you can do, I know probably Casey's met fewer of you than me, so maybe we'll just do quick introductions so we all know who's here. And I'm Troy Moon, I'm the Sustainability Director for Portland, and we can go with Casey next.
Yeah, I'm Casey. I'm the Sustainability Fellow with the Sustainability Office, funded through the GPCOG Resilience Corps.
I'm Tika, and I'm a PCAT member.
Want to go next, Gus? Or?
You're muted, Gus.
Yeah, I'm Gus, and I'm also a PCAT member. So thanks for doing this.
Sure.
And I'm Karen, even though you can't see me, and I'm also a PCAT member.
Great, welcome.
Escobar, the same thing.
Maggie Wolf, also PCAT member.
My name is Susan Burnett, and I'm new to Maine and new to Sierra Club, and I think I'm on somehow in 3 different groups, and I get a little confused. So thank you for sending out the Zoom link just a couple minutes ago, Troy, and happy to be here and don't know anything about benchmarking, so I thought we'd attend and find out.
Great. Well, this is the place to come. So I think that everybody introduce themselves. Yep. So thank you so much. And I'm going to turn it over to Casey, who's done a nice job of putting together a worksheet that we'll be able to use in our work promoting benchmarking. And you can share your screen and take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, so essentially for the main portion of this training, I'm going to have 2 screens up to share with you. One will be a web browser to take you through Energy Star, and the other is going to be a cheat sheet that you can take home with you once Troy and I finalize it. We'll probably send it out soon. We're just going to look it over for if there's any errors that you guys have the best sheet. And we'll walk through that so that you know how to use it and how that could help you understand Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and then also help the people that you will be coaching on how to use Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So I'm going to share screen now. Okay. Do you guys see the 2 things? Okay. Beautiful. I need to move you guys on my screen. And so this here is just a Word document. It's very specific to the 2021 reporting season on the 2020 benchmarking data. So every year, if we continue doing this, we will update it. So currently with our benchmarking ordinance, I believe as of 2019, all municipal buildings and all non-residential single occupant buildings over 20,000 square feet have to report their data. You are going to be helping people of this single occupant who are single occupant buildings. We personally will be doing the municipal buildings.
So before let me jump in here, Casey. So
Yeah.
as you know, PCAT was very engaged in helping, advocate that we have a benchmarking ordinance. And so the ordinance says that we will benchmark all buildings over 20,000 square feet. But as you know, we've run into some problems with CMP and getting whole building aggregated data. So we're still in process, and finally looks like making some progress with CMP on getting data for the rest of the buildings. But there's these 200 or so buildings that are over 20,000 square feet, but primarily have one occupant. These are like hotels, supermarkets, warehouses, some offices. But basically, they're easier. They can get their data, and you will be able to help them get their data from the utilities fairly easily, and probably just like from going to the utility website with the account information from the customer, from the person who needs help. So,
Do they have to self-identify? Like, hi, we know we fit into this category. Here we are. Or do you know who they are and you have to tell them? I mean, how does that work? Like, I'm thinking of law offices and stuff.
Yep. So we have a list of all the buildings we think have to comply, and we're notifying them that they're on the list. A lot of them already know. We've had communication with some, and then our intent is to let them know that we have, again, we really want this to work this year, so we'll be letting them know that we want you to do this. Here's information about it, and if want help, get back to us, and we can put you in touch with a coach who can help you.
Trainer.
To help you do it. So, but yeah, we can get into more of that after Casey runs through the data stuff. Oh, Espada.
Troy, can you center that cheat sheet? I'm just getting it all cut off at the side.
I can center it. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
Is that better?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Why don't you keep going now, Casey?
Yeah, and you'll also see that this, the form of the cheat sheet is going to be just like very generic questions, then with answers and resources. So then where can building owners and residents find more information on the benchmarking ordinance? And this links to the actual ordinance and tells you what chapter and section, so that if people do want to read up on it. And then this link here takes you to the Sustainability Office's webpage, which would give a more reader-friendly explanation of the benchmarking ordinance, and also give a lot of useful resources, which are also individually linked throughout this cheat sheet so that you guys can find them more easily and don't have to then go through the multiple link process. Where do building owners and or residents go to begin reporting data? This is the Energy Star Portfolio Manager login platform, which I have open right over here. And so that link will just take you to this web page. I'll log in as we get to the next steps. What data do building owners and or residents need to collect and share with the city? They're required to report their electricity, gas, and or water usage from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020 for this reporting season. We also do want to note that we technically did ask for this data to be reported last season as well for 2019, and we didn't have great reporting because of course it was the first year and also COVID happened right around the time that reporting season came. So if people do seem willing to report for the past year, it would improve our data, and it might even be helpful for them to have more data reported so that they can see better metrics, because I think it takes 2 years worth of data before you actually get an Energy Star score. So that could be very useful for both the people reporting and the city to get those Energy Star scores sooner, although we are not mandating that people backlog that data.
But you are mandating 2020 data.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, which is what this season we are reporting is the 2020 data, and that's due on May 1st.
And we'll encourage people to get, because it shouldn't be that hard for them to be able to get 2 years of data, but some people might find it challenging, and it's really important that we get at least get the last year's information in there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then so we're gonna yeah, also they'll need information on their yield, the year built, the gross floor area, irrigated area, occupancy, and unique building ID, or UBID, which is referred in Portfolio Star Manager as standard ID. And all of these sound like absolute jargon, and they are. So for any of these terms that you don't understand or that the person you're helping doesn't, I have attached the Energy Star glossary right here, which explains really clearly what all of these things mean. Like the irrigated area is essentially area outside of the building that is watered either by hand or by an irrigation system. The gross floor area like includes the outside, from the outside of the wall in all of that floor area. And then here is the link to the city's page, and I can pull this up for the unique property identification number, unique building identification number. And this, these are like randomized numbers for all of the places that get benchmarked, all of the properties that get benchmarked. And this is so that the city can easily attach the data inputted from Energy Star and attach it to the building. So if you just do Command F, you could search any building and help them find it, and it'll highlight.
So all the buildings that are required to benchmark should be on the list, but we've run across a few here and there last year that weren't on there somehow. And if that happens, you can reach out to us and we'll generate a number for them. We work with our GIS team and we let them know which building it is, and then they give us this number. And the reason we use these numbers is because sometimes parcels have more than one building on them, so we can't use the chart block and lot, the CBL assessor information because it isn't precise enough. We actually, like campuses like USM, they have lots of buildings on a parcel, and sometimes private properties have 2, 3, 4 buildings that are on the parcel, and we need to be able to distinguish which building we're talking about. That's why we create these numbers.
You said there's a couple of hundred of these, Troy?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, there's like 8 pages or so.
Okay.
6 pages. Okay, I'm gonna X out of that. Yeah, and so now we'll log into our account with Portfolio Manager. Some people might have to make an account for the first time. And this is what the Portfolio Manager webpage looks like. I'll just briefly give you a little tour. This is what I refer to in the document as the My Portfolio dashboard. And this will have all of the listed properties on it with their portfolio identification as given by by Portfolio Manager. You see we have 54 properties. And it will give you the Energy Star score once that's generated. Of course, we haven't been putting in our data for long enough, so we don't have that yet. Once again, it takes about 2 years worth of data, I think.
So we're going to catch up this year too. We didn't last summer. We didn't end up doing our benchmarking last year either, but we're going to catch up both years this year. So
yeah.
So this would only show the properties that are under your jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
So the customer would only see their own, or the building owner, I should say.
Right. These are all the municipal buildings are on our account because that's what we report to the city. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. So the next question that I put on the cheat sheet is, what are the general steps to benchmarking data? The first step is to create that Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. I also want to note that this list does not identify actually getting the utility data. That might be the hardest part for a lot of the people you're helping, is just putting them in touch or helping them get onto their utility platforms, which might look different for every customer. So that's its own hurdle. Mostly we're just focusing tonight on how to address the Portfolio Manager. So you create an Energy Star account. You create a property by using this Add a Property tab here. So we're just gonna create one tonight, hit Add a Property. You select property type. So there's all these different property types. It tells you just to use the main property type for the property. So if 60% of the property is used for this one function, that's the one you choose. We're just gonna make ours other. And they have, you'll see through the web browser, a lot of these blue highlighted items. That will give you a lot of just background and educational tips on what you're doing in those sections. And it'll just give you some resources. A lot of the times there are terms, and it'll bring you to the glossary or give you a definition that pops up. Your property's buildings, how many physical buildings do you consider a part of your property? So this is what Troy was talking about with the UBID, and the reason we use the UBID. We're just gonna make our property just one building on our property for this exercise. And then every building that we're asking to benchmark probably is already existing. But for tonight, we're going to do a test property because this is not real. And we're going to enter as if this property were operational. And then you hit get started. Okay. So we're going to make this our test number 2 because I made a test number 1 when making your cheat sheet. And our country is the US. Our street address is 1 Congress Street, Portland, Maine. Is that for 101? I'm just gonna guess. Year built, 1980. So these are like all of those things, the items that they need to know beforehand, like I was saying, and this is where a lot of them get put in. Every gross floor area is going to be at least 20,000. Irrigated area, we'll make 10,000. And so you'll see all of these things are highlighted in blue, and that's because they will give you the definition as it says it in the glossary. So that's super helpful. So if you think, what does occupancy mean? Occupancy is the percentage of your property's gross floor area that is occupied and operational. So if you have a 10-story building and 1 story is not occupied or being leased, you would say it's 90% full. I would assume that for a lot of the properties, it's going to be 100%, and that probably shouldn't be too much of an issue with the people you're helping. And it doesn't really mean like if one apartment isn't leased right now, it's still 100%. It's, don't get finicky with it. It's really just if like a whole floor is under construction or something is not being used, that'll mess with the energy data a little bit because there's no tenants on that floor. Standard ID, this is where they could put in a UBID number. But even if they don't put it in here later, you'll still, when you share it with the city, you'll still have to choose a UBID. So we're just going to skip this for now because I don't feel like putting one in, but you would click on it and click Portland. I can put one in, it's fine. Because it doesn't matter.
And UBID means what?
Unique building ID, identification.
That we saw at the beginning.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And 2, 3, 4, 5. This of course should be the like a real looked up on that page. It's attached in multiple places on this, but right here, UBID, and that's where they collect their data in this section. But it's also reiterated in a later part of this cheat sheet when you share the information with the city, because that will be needed again. Okay, so let's just look at this. What step are we at? We're still making our property right now. Continue. We're gonna say that our property's energy consumption does not include parking areas, just for this example. Okay, and then this is all the things I put in. Gross floor area, you can put in weekly operating hours, but none of this is required. The only thing that's required here is gross floor area. And we're gonna hit this button here, add property.
Those are all nice if people know it and it's not
Yeah.
that challenging to get. It's great to put it in if we can. The more data, the better. But if it's something that's going to be a roadblock or an obstacle, then don't worry about it.
Especially, I'm pretty sure for anything that's created, you can go back and fix it. So if they can't, they're running low on time and they just need to get their energy data, and we'd rather have it. But like Troy said, the more data you put into this, the better it is for the user. They'll find out more about their building. They'll be able to understand more about the metrics, and Energy Star will just do more for them. And also the city will just understand more. So this is my portfolio again, but instead of the main dashboard, I'm now in the dashboard for test building number 2. And I'm also just going to go back to the my portfolio dashboard, the original one. And if I scroll down to T, I should be able to find it again. See, test 2. And if I click on it, it'll bring me again to that dashboard for test 2. Usually if you have a lot of data in, it'll all show up on this little graph here. It tells me the location of it. It tells me, if I click on here, some details about it, my energy, my water, waste and materials. Troy, we don't ask them to use that, right?
No, they can skip that one.
They can skip that. And goals and design also don't matter much yet. Really, the 4 tabs that you'll use are summary, details, energy, and water. And energy will have both the electricity and the gas meters, and then water will have all the water meters.
And energy may also have other fuels like oil or
propane. Gas includes propane, kerosene, natural gas, and you'll see when we create a gas meter that it asks you to choose that. So going back to our cheat sheet, we have now finished add a property. And so the next step is to create the necessary utility meters. And they will have to create a meter for every actual utility meter that they get charged for.
In most buildings, so most buildings, that's going to be just a small number. So maybe 1 gas and 1 electricity. In some cases, maybe they have a couple electric meters, or typically they only have 1 gas meter.
Right. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is add a meter. There's 2 spots to do it. There's a little add a meter here in the energy tab, and there's a little one here. I'm pretty sure they do the same thing. And the very first thing it asks you is for the source of your property's energy. So what kind of energy are we tracking? We're going to track natural gas tonight, and we're going to say 1 meter. And you hit get started at the bottom. And see here, these are a bunch of things about gas meter. We're going to say that this meter became active. Why don't we just make it today? And then so that's the date active. That's a required piece of information. The unit is also required. I'm not sure what most gas meters here are done in, but I think we're gonna just do.
I think actually Unitil does. I'm pretty sure Unitil uses therms.
Therms, okay. So we'll click therms today.
These are meters that are the meters that are located on the outside of the building.
Yep. But they should have. It would be on the information would be on their gas bill. In the case of gas, they'll have the account number, and hopefully they've set up an account on their website. A lot of businesses have have created their login for the utility and have a web page, have access to their account information. That would be really helpful if they have already done that. So
what does that mean, date meter became active? I mean, What does that mean?
When did
It's
they? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
when you
Casey.
started, it's when you started paying for the gas, essentially.
So how would you know how long you've been doing that? I mean, like, for instance, me, 1986 would be the answer, but I mean, is that right? You go back to the beginning?
Actually, is this the, let me just check. It might be the first date that it might be January 1st of 2020, if that's when they're.
When they start actually, okay.
Yeah, so it's, if you see here, it's when the meter was installed or the date you want to start tracking your bills. So you can consider this, and I'll make a note of this in the updated cheat sheet. They can consider this if they're going to start benchmarking for 2019, like if they decide to go back and do that extra year, they can make it January 1st of 2019. Or if they're just doing the 1 year that we're requiring, they can make it January 1st, 2020. And that would be the day the meter became active. So I can, for this example, so it's just written, we'll make it 1/1/2020. And so that's, for most people, that's probably what they'll end up putting, is the first date that you're tracking your billing, essentially. Another thing that we'll later talk about in our tips and tricks is that this value becomes really important sometimes, the date the meter became inactive. If someone has propane, but they only put it on very so often, and there's months without it, for some reason, and this is at no fault of the user, but the Energy Star portfolio manager has an issue with logging zero numbers, like if you haven't used any for the year. So you actually have to make the meter inactive and then reactivate it after all the 0 months happen. And that's also probably another important thing to note, is that all of the meters log monthly data for energy and for water. But we'll talk more about this inactive number later. When you're creating a meter, it should be an active meter. So we'll create meter. Okay. And then I'm just gonna, I mean, you can, if people are ready to put in data, they can then start adding entries by hitting that add another entry. And this will usually be, like I said, monthly. And so you can pick a date. So let's say we're doing January. And let's say that a lot of people are going to have red dates, which means the date that the utility read what their usage was, and it won't be every month the same date. So if they had a red date of December 31st of 2019, and then their next red date was January 20th, this date is going to be the 1st of January, and this date is going to be the 20th of January. And that's because the last red date before this month was December 31st. And then the red date where this month ends is the 20th. And so then when the next one comes, let's say the red date is, let's say it was red March, I don't know, 15th. And it automatically makes this one start where this one ended. Does that make sense? And it'll keep doing that and fixing that so that there's no data gaps. That's very important that these dates, like on the diagonals, be the same, because when there's data gaps, there will be errors. Does that make sense?
So is this information that the property owner himself is putting in?
Yes, this would be what they're putting in directly from the way that the utility is reading and reporting the meters on their bills.
Okay.
Do most
And
people,
go.
do this, like, for instance, once a year, or is the idea that you kind of sit down and do it every month when you're paying your, I mean, or does it matter?
I mean, most of these people probably won't have a ton of meters to be writing. Hopefully they just have like a couple of each kind of meter. So they would just sit down once a year and do it. We sit down once a year and do it. What will be nice is in the future, we are working with CMP to create that platform that will make this a lot easier, because right now it does seem a little tedious. There is a way to use a spreadsheet, and some people might try to do that to input their data, but that does cause a lot of issues. So we do recommend that people manually insert the data, and we personally will be manually inserting the data. And I'm pretty sure we have way more meters and buildings than any one other person reporting. So any other questions about red dates and understanding that? Okay, and then you would put in the usage here for each month. I don't even know what a normal, I'm just putting random numbers. And then total cost in dollars for each red. And then you would hit continue. So we're gonna say that this does not account for the total energy, because this is just a natural gas meter, and we're gonna pretend that we also have, wait 1 second. I just wanna read this. Okay, we're gonna say that this accounts for the total energy consumption, so that it's applying to the whole building is essentially what that means. And then apply selections. And then if I go, so this brought us back to our energy tab, and you see that it started mapping this natural gas data on this little grid for us. Okay, and so then you would do the same thing for water, create a meter for that. And it's a lot of the same process. I'm just gonna go back to this cheat sheet because this is what you will be coming away with, and I just wanna make sure this makes sense for everyone. So we filled in the data for all of the meters with the data supplied by the utility providers. I also just wanna show you how you can fill in data from the dashboard once the meter's already made. So if we're starting at the summary tab of the My Portfolio dashboard for test 2, the building, we go into the energy tab, we scroll down, we look at what meters we have. We have 1 natural gas meter. We click on the highlighted natural gas, and this is the data we put in before. And in very much the same way, you can click add another entry, and it will start it on 4/15, and you can hit change the finish date. But if you click on any of these things, it also allows you to change them as they already are. And you'll see it's just displaying year 2020 here. Right now, if you had more than 1 year's data, you could choose between years. So it's very user-friendly in its ability to go back and change data. Okay. Save bills. And then if you go back to the top here and hit test 2, I believe that'll take you back to the dashboard. Yep. Another thing that I just want to show on this summary table, this summary tab, which I believe is in here. Yeah, so number 5 in the general steps to benchmark data within the summary tab within each property, use the data quality checker check for possible errors button to check for potential errors before reporting. That'll be really important for people to be able to reach out for help before last minute trying to send in their data to us. So if they just go to their summary tab for each building and scroll down, there's this box, data quality checker, and we can check for possible errors by clicking that little button. And so they wanna check year ending December 31st, 2020 is what we're asking for in our link, and hit run checker. And it's telling me there are not 12 full months of meter data and that I do not have any electric data, which are both true statements. So it then says here missing for the dates I did not put in. It also, for everyone, will say property has no waste or material meters. That's fine. And if they don't have water meters, they might just not have water meters, but those are both not issues as long as they're true statements. Okay, I'm gonna go back to test 2.
They will have water data though, in real life.
They will, all of them. Okay.
Because they're.
I know some of ours don't.
I assume that these are like occupied buildings and they're going to have water. I'd be really surprised if they don't have water.
And then the last step is to use the city provided share link to report the benchmarking data for all required properties. And that's actually what this next section of the cheat sheet is about. How do building owners and or residents share their data from Energy Star Portfolio Manager with the city? So once all of the energy account info has been inputted into Portfolio Manager, users can share their data with the city by using a city provided Energy Star Portfolio Manager sharing link, which is right here. I'm gonna click this so that it opens and we can go step by step. So as you can see, this takes me right to Energy Star Portfolio Manager to this sort of request portal, and it gives some instructions on the benchmarking ordinance and whether you're required to submit. It says the deadline, and it gives Troy's contact info if there are issues. It asks who is submitting this report. I'm going to say that I'm submitting it. And then this part is blocked, you'll see, and that's the same thing as what I use for my search when checking for errors. It's going to be a single year time frame from December 31st, 2020 back to January 1st, 2020 is the search that we're asking for. And then it asks them to select the number of properties. So if they have multiple properties that they're in charge of reporting, they can click multiple. When we report, we will be clicking multiple, and you can select properties, and it opens a portal that has all of your different properties, and you can click all of the ones that you will be reporting. Sorry, you guys are blocking my screen a little bit. And scroll, and then scroll to the bottom, and we'll add all of them, and you can apply selection. And then you can sorry, I just want to check that. And then you can generate response preview. I think at some point, if they haven't connected their UBID to their properties already, it will also ask for that. But because I believe that all of ours already are connected to their UBIDs, it's probably not asking. I don't know, Troy, if you know why it didn't ask.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it says here that it asked, which makes me think that it was probably already inputted in ours. And then you can generate a preview response. I mean, I don't know what that will do when I do it. I don't think it'll do anything. It'll tell me everything's wrong, probably. Yeah, so it generates this preview response. And I think ours has a ton of error messages because it doesn't make sense. And yeah, ultimately, if it's all correct, it will generate this preview, and you can send it through. This one seems to have an error. Okay, sorry. So then you can do the action of sending the response for each thing. Whoop. and it should send through, and this pulled up all of the errors I have, which is because none of our data is in. But ultimately, if they do properly put in their data, they should be able to use that little clicker to send the data, because everything should have been fine. And I'm just going to X out of that now. That should ultimately like take them step by step as they go through it, and there should be fewer issues because all of the data is in, because our data is not in for any of the properties I just put in. It's coming up with just a ton of errors, but this section explains selecting all the properties. I might add a couple more bullets just to make this more clear.
What does
for you
send
guys.
response mean?
It means
What
like
kind of response are they looking for?
the response is it's like the report that's generated, and so they get a preview of it and then they can send it to the city. That's what send response means, is to send it to the city.
Ah, okay, thank you.
That was kind of what that was the process we just looked at.
Yeah.
Where we looked at the screen. You want to maybe like look at that one again, perhaps?
Yeah,
Casey?
you can pull that up. So this is the original page. It takes you on. So this whole process here is about sending the information to the city. We're just going to do one property this time, but if we were just to pick that test 2 and try to send that, generate response preview. So the response is the response to the city's request for data, and it brings up this custom report that it's generating. It has generated this report for us, and it asks for action. And if I click on it, I want to send the response to the city, or I can delete it if there's something wrong, or view the errors, or preview the response. But yeah, for now we can hit preview. And so this is what would be sent to the city, is this record of this data. It's really hard to look at on this screen, but if you pulled it up in an Excel, it would be much more visible. But this is the response. It's this table of data that will be shared with the city, and that the city can, I believe, view through their own Energy Star to understand a lot of the metrics.
Right. So we can look at the data in our portfolio manager and download it ourselves if we want to from all the information that people submitted.
Can owners of property who don't fit in the, the category, like for instance, us, can we, like, just to kind of learn this thing, can we do our own properties, or is that not?
Sure. Yeah, you totally can. And I was
communicated to the city yet, or no? I mean,
well, you guys don't have to. You can just have it for your own use. You can like see how you do in your own home, but so you don't have to send that. You wouldn't have to send that to us, but it would be good practice to, like, I'll probably do it for my house just for the experience of it. That would help you kind of learn how to get where the data is too, and where to find it from the, because how you find it for your home is pretty much the same of how a business would find it. And I can show you, if you're done presenting the spreadsheet, I can show them what website data has for you from the utilities, if that's useful.
I can also, Troy, if you don't mind, just like quickly finish running through the cheat sheet. That's pretty. I can't hear you. Okay. So that's basically everything for how to use Energy Star. And this is once again just the UBID put again in case they need to find it quickly and have it put it in for their building. But then there's some, on this last page, some general tips and tricks. The biggest thing is making sure that there's no data gaps, like I said, between the entries, because that will cause a big error. The other thing is that we recently got a call from one of the businesses that needs to report their data. And because they had this energy meter that was inactive for many months, they tried to put in 0 values. And we were told by Energy Star that you should instead create that inactive date and take the meter offline on Energy Star. And then if it ever does go back online, essentially create a new active date for that, or potentially a new meter. And that will resolve any issues. And then the other thing is that, like I said, while there is the ability to use a spreadsheet to input data, into Energy Star for the meters, this tends to create more issues because people really mess with the format that they create that's necessary to input the data. So we recommend just manually inputting the data, which we also do ourselves, like I said. And then here's some resources. Some of them are Portfolio Manager Quick Start guides via the Energy Star and Portfolio Manager websites, and then also a couple of YouTube videos on how to set up meters, how to respond to data requests, how to set up properties, essentially all the things that we just went through, but done in more detail and perhaps with a bit more clarity. And yeah.
Casey, I'm sorry I got here late, but are you going to email us a copy of that spreadsheet, of that cheat sheet?
Yeah, I'm gonna, Troy and I will finalize it and just make sure that as much detail as possible is on it. And maybe a couple things came up as we were talking that I want to just make sure is written down for all of you. But yes, you will get a copy of it probably soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And you can feel free once you have it to also anyone that you're coaching, just give it to them so that they have more resources too to help figure it out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're still on mute, Troy.
There we go. Yeah, so I can show you what the utilities would look like. Let's see if I can find the right one. Oh, sorry. Okay. This is, well, actually my electricity is not helpful because they don't know what to do with solar. So like here's like a water, like, so this is water district, and on the web page you can see, you can like this, you could do this for your home or you could do it for the business, but you go to the water district website and look at your account, and there's a section where you can look up water usage history, and it will call up this.
Are you on your water account right now? I think you need to share a different.
Oh yeah, sorry, probably.
Because you're still on your energy.
Still
screen.
on energy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Stop share. That's so annoying. Share screen. Let's see. Energy. Here's water. Okay. Sorry. All right. Here we go. Sorry. So here we go. Water district. You guys, you can, if you haven't done this for your own home, you can create, if you don't have a login for your energy accounts or your water account, you can create one very easily on their website, and then it has all the information you need. So here's, like, you can go to the menus. They have water usage history, and so it shows all the consumption for as long as you need to go back. So you can just scroll through. It has a fancy graph, and then the data you would need for reporting is the water usage. We don't have a sub meter, so they're the same of wastewater and water. But you can this is the number you'll enter, and this in the water district case, it's HCF. So that's the unit that you would enter into Portfolio Manager. So it's right, just right on the Portland Water District webpage. So that one's pretty easy to get. Let's see if I can go to gas. Oops.
You might have also seen, but there was a column for the water usage that said estimated, and all of them had ends. I didn't talk about that, but there was a column in the meters that I was putting into which asked that. So if you had any questions about that, it's also right in the meters that are given by the utility, which is part of the beauty of Energy Star Portfolio Managers, how they try to sort of mirror the way that you would receive your own data.
Right, I'm going now. I had my gas one timed out, so I have to go back to it, and then I'll show that one. Okay, perfect. All right, now I'll share that one. Gas. Here we go. All right, and this is what it looks like again, right from the right from the Unitil website, and it just shows each month. It goes back pretty far, and then in this case, the usage, and I was right. Therms is the one you need to check, and it's all right there. So it's pretty easy to find. And that's why we have it set up for buildings with one primary tenant, because they probably only have 1 or 2 meters, and it's not super hard to get the data. It's when it's gymnastics to try to get multiple tenants to report their data. So we're close, I think, with CMP to get that finished. But
the other thing I want to point out, Troy, is once again, you see on the left column, the red date. That is the date that you would be putting in, not the bill date.
Right.
That's important to emphasize, because we want the span between the red dates, essentially.
Right.
For how that tells you the usage more than the bill date would tell you the usage.
Was that in the cheat sheet? I remember, probably was.
It says to use the red date.
Okay, perfect. So that's and unfortunately my CMP doesn't know how to make the solar one work very well, so it's a little harder. So if you run into buildings that have solar and net metering, you can call. We can try to help you out in that case. But it seems complicated, but when you try it, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
especially when you have it in front of you. When you have your utility billing in front of you, it's very much the same columns. You just do date to date.
Right.
It tells you the info, it tells you the unit, and you just have to choose the correct one because different utilities use different units. But
so it's therms, HCF, and then kilowatt hours and electricity. So, and then oil, of course, is gallons. And propane is, I think, in gallons too. Any questions?
Did you have a question?
Probably need to digest a little bit, but really, it seems complicated when you're like watching someone do it, but when you're like trying to fill out the form yourself, it's like, oh, okay, that's not so bad.
Will the building owners have a hands-on training with you guys at all?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I should mention that. So we're scheduling a training on the
9th?
8th, I think. Friday, I think it's Thursday the 8th. Check. Yep, Thursday the 8th. And that will still give them 3 weeks to finish their benchmarking. And we assume that there'll be some people who are late, and that's going to be okay. Just want to, we'll just keep reminding them to do it and get it in.
We're hoping to get 80%.
And saying, we're going to have, this is what's going on, and we're going to have a training session.
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to be actually sending out a letter. And letters and emails and all kinds of information just to get the word out. And then we might even resort to calling people up and to remind them. If it comes to that, maybe we recruit a few of you folks to help us call people up and remind them. Divide and conquer. Because we really, really want to get good compliance this year.
Maybe put it on time and temp building.
Yeah, report today. But in this case, it's it's only about 200 buildings, and so that might be a little overkill for. Again, we really appreciate you being willing to help, because again, it's a program that you helped create and inspired, certainly, and it is very important. It's really a key part of helping us work with the commercial building owners. And as you know, 60% of our emissions are from buildings. A lot of them are from commercial buildings, and so the more information we can get, the better. We move forward. As we get the data, we can see that some buildings do better than others. That will help us make some contacts with people and say, wow, you guys are using lots of energy, and you can save money if you take some measures to conserve energy. You'll help yourself, and you'll help our climate goals. And that's why we're also working on policy to help create better access to low-cost financing, whether it be CPACE or hopefully through our green bank, state green bank that we are supporting. That would, again, help private property owners get access to energy loans that are affordable, and that would be, create savings that would allow them to pay back the loan. So I know that you guys are following the Green Bank as well. So, and yeah, that's kind of the summary, so to speak. Again, we'll forward you the link, and you guys are also welcome to come to the training. We're going to do a similar training, I think, very similar to this for the building owners, so it could be a refresher, and you're welcome to attend that one as well. We'll send you the login information for it, so you can come to that too. And if you have a little bit of time between now and then, just look around, get familiar with the utility. For using your own accounts, you can get used to the CMP Energy Manager, and you can get used to where to find the data on the water district site and the Unitil site.
I'll try to get you the cheat sheet by tomorrow. I'll make the changes based on our talk today. I'll probably rewatch this video just to check to see all the things I said I would add to it, and have Troy just read it over for clarity. But we'll try to get that out to you soon so that you can start messing with my portfolio manager.
I think it's a great idea that Tika and Troy suggested too, to set up our own, just to work through it, before we try to help anybody else.
Yeah. And you'll find
that's how I learned.
You'll find
going through our own data.
Yeah, I think you'll find that it's not as confusing as it looks when you actually do it.
I have a question about how to access the recording of this, since I was 15 minutes late.
Yeah, I'll share a link for everybody. So I'll just leave it on there. I'm sure it's like a couple gigs in size by now. So there's a link that I can share, and people can just watch it when they want.
Thank you.
Great, thank you all.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys. We really appreciate the support, and I think I hope I suspect there'll be some folks who want to take advantage of the help, and we will certainly let them know, and we can introduce you. Anyone who comes to the training, we can kind of point you guys out. So cool. All right,
So,
great.
I have a question, Troy.
Yeah, sure.
So if I get on and use my own account and get stuck, where can I go for assistance?
You can just shout to either me or Casey, and we'll help you out.
Okay, so you'll send us some contact info.
Yep.
And we can contact you. Great.
So we'll probably, let's see, I don't have everybody's email address, but I can send, if Gus is willing to be, or Alan's willing to be the point of contact, you can forward it to the group or something, because I don't have everybody's email.
And I'll put our contact info in the cheat sheet as well, to be sent out.
Wonderful.
Cool. Oh, great. Thanks, everyone, and have a great evening, and we'll talk soon.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, see ya.
Thanks. Bye.